meeting to order. Before we do, I'd like to invite you to stand and join me in the pledge, and then Jeff Watson will bring the invocation.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for the beauty that you bless us with here in Northwest Arkansas in the springtime. We're so thankful for all the gifts and all the blessings that you have given us in our city. We ask that you continue to be with our city, our citizens. Help us to continue to prosper. Lord, we ask that you be with the employees of the city of Springdale. Keep them safe, protect our first responders. And Lord, we ask that you be with us tonight. Lead us and guide us in our deliberations, in our discussions, so that we may better serve you. Lord, we're so thankful for the forgiveness of our sins. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Let me again welcome you to tonight's regular meeting of the Springdale City Council. This is Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024, and I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with a roll call, and our city clerk, Denise Pierce.
Mayor Sprouse.
Here.
Brian Powell.
Here.
Amelia Taldo.
Here.
Jeff Watson. Mike Overton.
Here.
Mike Lawson. Rex Bailey.
Present.
Randall Harriman.
Here.
Mark Fujarus.
Here.
Ernest Kate.
Here.
All right, thank you. We're at item 4 on the agenda. This is a portion of each meeting the council sets aside to hear comments from our residents. If we have any citizens that would like to address the council concerning an item that is not already on tonight's agenda, you're welcome to come to the microphone at this time at the podium. Please state your name and your address, and keep your comments brief, and understand that the council won't be taking action on anything you bring forward tonight. Is there anyone that would like to address the council concerning an item that is not already on tonight's agenda? All right, thank you. Seeing none, we do have one. Oh, come right on up.
I just want to know, my wife didn't see the agenda of the Talbot Incorporated.
That's on the agenda. Yes, sir. That's on the agenda. You'll have an opportunity then.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anna, before we start voting on anything, will you please come up? Anna, Amelia Taldo is returning from being out of town, and she is on Zoom. And because we have instituted an electronic voting, we've talked through how we can do that. So let me explain to you how it's supposed to work, because we want to be as transparent as we can. And so normally, since we instituted this process, I will say it's time to vote when the time comes. And the council will each enter their vote electronically. And after I know they have entered their vote, I will ask Amelia to please tell us how she votes. And then we will all hear it. And then Anna will be her proxy, and because it has to be entered from her computer station. So Anna will enter her vote, and then IT will put on the screen how the results of the vote, okay? So we're gonna do every vote that way that calls for we have one that's a voice vote always, but that's how we're gonna do it. So I just wanted y'all to know how that was gonna work, and we're glad to have Anna up here. And if Anna has to leave early, then Mr. Overton has agreed to follow through for the rest of the meeting, okay? Good deal. All right. You have before you the approval of minutes. If there are no changes or additions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, item 6 is procedural motions. What's your pleasure, council?
Move for A and B.
We have a motion and a second for A and B. Council, you may vote.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to ask you. We're going to practice. Yeah, so Amelia, what is your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And then, there we go. Thank you, guys.
Carries 7-1.
So that's how it'll work tonight, okay? We're at item 7, and this is the Springdale Chamber of Commerce quarterly update. Jay Segal is here. It's all yours, man.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, leaders, and guests. Springdale continues growing, and the Chamber is supporting multiple projects for local expansion and new companies relocating to our city. In the first 2 months of 2024, Springdale has increased 916 new jobs, and this is a consistent trend for the past 5 years to increase new jobs approximately 2% between January and February. City unemployment rate by the end of February was 2.4%, second lowest in the state after Bentonville. The March 2024 sales tax receipts were 1.7 million. The total year-to-date receipts are nearly 6 million, which is a 1.38 increase. Construction in the first quarter remained high on both commercial and residential work. The Chamber just completed the third series of workforce videos, and they've completed a total of 15 videos thus far. The Chamber's partnership with Springdale School District continues to connect local businesses and raise awareness for future families with their newest magazine. The Marshallese Youth Initiative is in the 4th month of programming with 6th grade students. Upcoming programs include finances and civic engagement. Page 2, there's 3 upcoming ribbon cuttings I'd like to put on your radar. Steel Yard will be this Thursday. They're going to be at 15 new jobs. The UAMS Institute for Community Health Innovation will be April 30th. And Powers of Arkansas grand opening of their new facility on Kendrick will be May 8th. Near downtown, be on the lookout for Capriata's Sandwich Shop opening soon on Thompson Street. The Star on Spring Hotel's announcement event will be in a few weeks. Gaskin Steakhouse on Emma is targeting an early June opening. Onyx Coffee Lab is looking to open in the fall. And then additionally, Premium Brands will break ground on their new headquarters this summer, and that's a new 100 jobs added. On the west side of town, Panera Bread has begun construction. Pickleman's Cafe will soon begin construction, and both of these are going to be on the corner of Sunset and Jean George Boulevard. Following these two, we can expect to hear other announcements over the coming months and through this year at the crossings and nearby area. Pending your questions, this concludes my brief.
Any questions for Jay?
Thanks, sir.
Good stuff. Thanks, Jay. All right, that takes us to item 8, our Downtown Springdale Alliance update, and Jill is here, Jill Dabbs. Jill?
Mayor and council, thank you for giving us the opportunity to share with you some of the things that are happening in downtown Springdale. I believe there is a presentation that is going to pop up I sent earlier today that'll help guide us through the presentation, guide us through the update. I will say that there is probably not another downtown in Arkansas and quite a few states that can be as proud as to what is happening in their downtown right now. When you go up and down Emma and over to Holcomb, there's more happening in our downtown right now than we've probably seen in a long time. And I'm in it every day, and it just absolutely drops my jaw that we could be seeing this much happening. And also, I want to speak to, if we could, where's my clicker? Here we go. Now we're in business. Okay. Either way. Okay. So with the support of the community and the city, we've been able to expand our staff. This is our staff, and we still have 2 open positions currently as well, and excellent staff and excellent applications as well. I hope this goes faster. Okay. I've mentioned to you guys before the growth page. This is an excellent page that you can. Okay, there we go. Thank you so much. So this is the page where you can really see what's coming out of the ground. The developers are sending us information here all the time, and this is where you can see the master plan rolling out. We're very excited to be able to have this page. I want to thank the city council for your support in the furniture. We did a pilot. You guys paid attention to it, you watched, you came and sat in Turnbow, and then you supported furniture being placed down there, and we really appreciate that. That's really been a great addition to downtown. Another thing that's happening in downtown, just a couple years ago, we talked about the master plan update and the importance to have affordable, accessible housing in downtown Springdale and workforce housing, and we're starting to see that happen. This is one of the hardest things in an area like ours that is being revitalized to get done, and your commitment to it, the developer's commitment to it, the private sector's committed to it, and we're going to have a really great story to tell in this area, and there's a lot of important work that's being done here. Bella's Gifts is a business that came back downtown. They have already reported over close to a 200% increase in sales, which is a really good hook for attracting other businesses into downtown to see how successful that is. And that's even before the hotel goes in across the street. And as we can see, that restaurant is full all the time. The Greenway realignment, I heard about this probably the first week that I was in downtown Springdale 5 years ago, and we were fortunate enough to see this open last year, and even this weekend at the Hog Eye. There was so much activity happening there. The Mile 16 sign was the backdrop to the band as the runners were coming across the line, and it was just a great weekend to really celebrate downtown, and that infrastructure improvement is going to serve us very well and represents us well. I'm just going to roll through some of these. These are all featured on the growth page. The Big Emma project kicked off recently, as you all know. Luther George Park is coming along really, really well. I won't go deep into it. We had a great presentation at the last council meeting, but there's lots to look forward to, and the economic impact that this park is going to have, not just on downtown businesses, but Springdale as a whole, and it will be a defining feature for Springdale, just like Arvest Ballpark is and other things. Market Center of the Ozarks is on track to open in August. The new Senior Adult Center, you all are very aware of that, but we're super excited that that is remaining in downtown Springdale. That's such an important decision. The hotel is set to break ground very soon. The Spring Street Mixed Project, this will transform Walter Turnbow Park when we see this come out of the ground. Improved parking, there's still lots of conversations going on with improved parking. It's in the master plan, and we really appreciate your support as this work moves forward. And now let's talk about our people and places in downtown Springdale. We have a very vibrant downtown as it is, and it's getting more vibrant every day. Confident Coffee opened Inside Social Project recently. We have a new sushi restaurant downtown. Medusa's just right down the street. I'll be coming back to you later in the year talking about expansion of the outdoor dining district to pick up some of these restaurants that are falling right outside the edge of that. I get phone calls about it every day, but I want to let you know that I tell them we go to the council no more than once a year asking for this expansion. So we're collecting all those and putting that together as well. Bienvenue is doing very well, a French restaurant right there. We have a new spa downtown. We've had 2 new coffee shops open in downtown Springdale, and as Jay mentioned a while ago, a third one will be opening later this year, and they're all full. It just amazes me. When I go into these restaurants, I think, where were these people before these businesses opened? Kenzab is a nice little hole in the wall, great food. If you haven't been there, you definitely should try it out. We've mentioned homegrown. Yankabilly Food Truck is going to be expanding soon. We're really excited to have them in downtown Springdale. They're really adding to the arts district. I want to talk about our community partners some. Downtown Springdale Alliance, we're a staff of 6, but we touch lots of organizations. In January of this year, we held a meeting inviting all of our community partners to attend. We put out about 120 invitations, and we had 80-something people show up. In that meeting, we did strategic planning for the entire year of programming in downtown Springdale, not just with DSA's programming, but other programming as well, and how they could add on, how smaller organizations could add on to our events and expand them. And that was, that type of collaboration is really what makes some of the things that you're seeing happen in downtown Springdale really special. Ozark Regional Transit is coming on as a better sponsor, a greater partner throughout the whole region. and really supporting some of the things that are happening in downtown as well. As you know, it's our contract, it's the DSA's contract with the city. This is a list of some of the things that we do for the city every year. These are some of the numbers that we've been putting up. We tracked this last year. We had over 37 community events created in downtown Springdale by DSA, and I'm looking for the number of actual events. There were over 100 events hosted in Turnbow Park last year that came through the Public Events Committee. DSA is billing for the park staff time in there. That goes directly to the city, and for the rent of the facility. There it is, 34 unique community events curated by DSA last year, and we'll do about the same number this year, adding Luther George Park. And the highlights from 2023, we expanded the Art Walk from a one-day event to a three-day event. The Monarch event grew exponentially, approximately 30% increase in Live at Turnbow attendance, 50% increase in street dinner revenue, and approximately 95% increase in vendor revenue. The M Exchange debut went really well, and we'll be seeing more of that this year. The Downtown Springdale is leading in the downtown sustainability efforts as well with the sponsorship through the Tyson Family Foundation. We're also partnering with the Northwest Arkansas Council on some glass recycling opportunities for downtown. And these are the investments through DSA that are happening in the community. We invest $226,000 in events, $50,000 in marketing each year, and about $50,000 in the artists that perform and support and provide entertainment at our events downtown. All of our events are free with the exception of street dinner and some nominal fees, like for the art crawl. We do those, not for the money, but more people show up at events when there's a small fee attached sometimes. But most of our events that we're providing in downtown are free. These are some highlights. I'm going to email this all to y'all. I'm not going to read you a package, but there's lots of great information in here to review over. Also, my glasses don't quite reach that far. And 2023 sponsors, after COVID, we had a 13% increase, and we recaptured all of our sponsors that had to lean back a little bit during that time, so we're really proud of that, for the continued sponsorship that we get from our sponsors. And these are the community sponsors from our downtown businesses that we had last year. 2024 is planned to be even bigger. We will open Luther George Park on October 11th and 12th with a great fun weekend. Please hold space in your calendar for that day. And the new pillars are up in Shiloh Squares. You can just scan that with the QR code to find out what's going on in downtown Springdale. We got a lot of positive feedback. And this year, new is a partnership with the Naturals. We're doing some marketing to really capture the west side of Springdale and bring more Springdale residents into downtown Springdale. A big shout out to my board. A couple of them are here tonight. Couldn't do this job without the support and the leadership that they provide and how engaged they are. I know a lot of boards struggle to be as engaged as we are. That is not. We have a great, strong working board and very appreciative of every one of them. And we can't wait to see you in downtown Springdale. Any questions?
Questions for Jill?
You mentioned the outdoor dining district expansion. There's not a list of restaurants, it's just an area, correct?
It's an area. It'll be a map, and it'll just stretch the map to encompass those.
So you're talking about going down Holcomb, I guess, and further down
A
Emma
little
to
bit further down Holcomb, a little bit further east on Emma, a little bit further west on Emma.
When do you present that?
We'll probably bring that around June or July. Sound good?
I just bought my street dinner tickets today.
Good.
I noticed they were out. Yeah.
They are on sale. They will go fast. If you're in this room, I would get them tonight. We expect this dinner to sell out fast with Jennifer Booker and Rafael Rios heading it up. So looking forward to that.
Great. All right. Thanks, Jill. Great stuff. I don't know about you all, but I don't have to talk to too many people that I run into from out of town, especially if they're from the Northwest Arkansas area. And more of them than not bring up how excited they are about what they see happening in our downtown. So that's great. Even though we got things going on all over, great things, downtown's really, really getting popular right now. All right, we're at item 9. This is, I'll go ahead and read it. A resolution authorizing the temporary operation of a carnival at Parsons Stadium.
Move resolution pass.
We've got a motion, a second, to approve the resolution. Any other questions or comments? Anyone in council or in the room? Okay, council, you may enter your vote. And Amelia, how do you vote on this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now all votes are entered. Results, please.
Carries 8-0.
All right, thank you. Item 10, Planning Commission Report and Recommendations by Patsy Christie, Director of Planning and Community Development. Patsy?
The first item on the agenda is a rezoning request to rezone 1.55 acres located at 2202 South 40th Street. The request is to rezone the property from Agricultural District A1 to low-medium multifamily district MF4. I want to do just a little bit of thing to clear this up. This is the copy of the land use plan, and you see all this area is yellow. The comprehensive land use plan indicates density, not types of housing. So the yellow area is low-density residential, the orange is medium-density residential, and the brighter color orange or red is high-density residential. It doesn't talk about the type of housing that's in those, it's only the density. The SF2 is a low-medium-density single-family residential district, and the MF4 is a low-medium-density multifamily district. The only difference between the two is the type of units that can go into those areas. The Planning Commission reviewed this request and recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from Agricultural District A1 to low-density multifamily residential district MF4 and declaring an emergency.
Patsy, how many acres is this?
1.5.
Patsy, can you explain what you just said about the only difference between SF4 and, I'm sorry, SF2 and MF4 is the type of buildings?
Right.
Other than that, they're just the same?
Single family allows single-family homes only. Multifamily allows for a mixture of single-family, duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes.
About density?
Well, the MF4 is 4 units per acre. SF2 is 4 units per acre. MF4 is 8 units per acre, which is still considered to be low to medium density. When you go to MF12, you're at medium density. That's 12 to 16, and when you go to high density, it's 16 to 24. There again, it's the type of housing that goes in there is not indicated on the land use map.
So this has been before us before, right? This piece of property.
Yes, but it has a different rezoning
And
request.
when it was before us before, it was asking for a medium density?
Right. And this new request is to go to an MF4, which is low-medium multifamily district.
So when the planning department at the Planning Commission recommends approval, then what you're recommending is in compliance with the land use plan.
Correct. Yeah.
Can you show those colors of the land use plan again?
They're on that screen that's up there now. Do you have that one? Oh, you want to go back to the map itself? Yep. And then if you go on and look at the zoning map, you see that there are some MF4s in that area. There's some C2, but it's over on Chapman. The colors are different. The darker, kind of a darker yellow is those that are up there on Fieldcrest and Wynwood. The area where the Lindsay Apartments, or the Links, is a PUD. So it's a different density altogether because it came in as a PUD.
On a couple of those maps, there's a couple of little squares, or three squares. I don't think they're related in any way, are they? One on 48th Street, one on,
Yeah, you've got a couple
Levine.
other places highlighted. They must be on
Oh, that's probably-
Christine and
That's
on,
probably because it carried over for another, we had a variance request to allow them to put a storage building closer to the
not
street.
related to
on that.
this
No.
petition tonight.
No, it was just something that was on the same agenda. It's just the area highlighted that has the S on it because that's where the sign was. But I didn't even catch that because we have several things at a meeting trying to keep everything together. No, sir, it's not. No,
It was brought up, there's spot zoning, but
no, it's not spot zoning. It's not what we would consider to be spot zoning.
So this parcel would have a maximum of 12 units if everything in the,
Yeah.
worked out perfectly, you'd have 12
Right.
units.
Once you get to multifamily districts, you have multifamily design standards, which requires open space by number of bedrooms. And so when you put all those things in there, I think they'd be hard pressed to get that many units in there.
because
but have a
there's
single
also
layout.
detention that possibly would have to be done and.
Well,
those
detention would
things.
have to be done more than likely, whether
Yeah.
it's single family or.
Right, but that
anything else.
figures, that's part of that acreage that
Right.
is going to be used, that can't be used for a building.
Right. And we're not really into the design of how it lays out, because we're just looking at what is the highest and best use of the property. All those issues with drainage and open space and all of that will be done when a large-scale development plan is submitted. And the same property owners get notified when we go to that process again. Same way we do everything else. This one's no different.
Is there any changes in setbacks between those three?
Well, it depends on what kind of building you're putting in as to what the setbacks would be. The single family are still the same. The lot size is smaller for a single-family home in an MF4 than it is in a SF2. So, there's a difference with that. Because you could get, in theory, you could get 12 houses on there if you could meet all the lot sizes and all the, all those requirements. But like I said, we haven't seen the layout for this, so we haven't looked at all those particulars yet to know exactly what the maximum would be, whether it's single-family or multifamily. That happens after the property is rezoned. We go through the large-scale development process. And if it's done with single-family, it's a subdivision, and they have to come in with a subdivision proposal that shows how all that stuff works, and it's laid out as a subdivision and goes through the Chapter 112 requirements with that. The large-scale development is in the same Chapter 112, but it's a different layout because then it becomes one ownership, and we're dealing with one properties instead of the possibility of dividing into different lots.
If this were in a single-family zoning, there's no we don't have any single-family design standards,
No.
thanks to the legislature a few years ago. And, but also the size of the home, you could go 2 stories with single-family.
We have nothing that sets the standard for single-family homes, except they have to be at least 24 feet in both directions. There is no height restriction. They could put 2-story in there, the same as, anything else.
All right. Any other questions for Patsy right now? She's not going far. All right. Steve, Mr. Lyle, would you like to come and start, and then we'll open it up for anyone else who would like to speak to this,
Yes,
okay?
Thank you, Mayor. It's Steve Lyle. I'm here on behalf of Taldo Properties, requesting that you do this rezoning, this 1.5 acres to, like Patsy said, she did a good job of describing the overall compatibility of the project with your zoning code. And it is just a 1.5 acre piece of property. I presented this at the Planning Commission when it was approved, and since then, there was an article in the paper that I hope you got a chance to look at. The Northwest Arkansas Council hired a consultant because the number one problem in Northwest Arkansas now is affordable housing. So they hired a consultant to say, well, what do we do about it planning-wise when we're expecting another 400,000 people moving into the area by 2050? And that's most likely going to happen whether we like it or not. So the question is, how do you plan for it? And they pointed out, the consultant came back and said that one of the biggest problems right now is that 72% of the land in Northwest Arkansas is zoned for single-family houses. And that in the modern marketplace and affordability, there's just not, there's two types of costs. One is to the developer or the homeowner to build a large house on a big lot. That's just not happening in numbers now. That's a problem. There's an abundance of those properties that people can't afford, not only can't afford to buy, but can't afford to develop. And number two, the household sizes are actually dropping. So now we only have 2.6 people per household. So there's not a demand for those bigger houses. And then from a public planning point of view, because you're going to hear some really genuine concerns about the neighbors about this property, but I want you to keep in mind from a public planning point of view, there's a real cost to the public if you, through zoning regulation and zoning decisions, push people further and further out away from your services. You have to build new roads, you have to build new sewer lines, you have to run all new utilities. That's not a one-time cost, that's an ongoing cost that lasts forever. And so this consultant was saying, planning-wise, we need to get away from that because it's a cost to the ratepayers of the utilities, it's a cost to the taxpayers to do zoning decisions that affect everybody based off of, in this case, I think there's going to be some neighbors that are very concerned about it. And Patsy did a good job of explaining why it is compatible. 40th Street is a collector street, so it's a fairly busy street. You've got the Lynx apartments there. You've already got some MF4. The reason, this was a dilapidated house. There was in trouble with the city on some multiple code, violations, and it was probably going to be torn down. And you have to ask yourself, why would a house in this marketplace be dilapidated and be in risk of being torn down when everything's appreciating and things are going well? And it's because that was not the best use of this property anymore. No one was going to buy this 1.5 acres and build a large house, a dream house, facing 40th Street in the current situation. A lot of these folks have lived there for a very long time, but Springdale's changed a lot in the last 30 years, and that part of town's changed a lot too. So this is consistent with those changes and with not only where we are now, but where we're going to be. A townhouse in your neighborhood doesn't destroy your property values. It doesn't destroy your way of life. I can speak from experience there. In Harbor Meadows, there's townhouses that were built. There was some opposition. Did not affect that. We looked at some property values. The houses that are closest to this back in the 90s were selling for about $100,000. They're selling listing for $350,000 or more, some $400,000 now. So the other zoning changes that were adopted, the Lynx apartments moving in, the MF4 that's there, didn't cause these properties they're still tracking the appreciation that's been seen across the community. So that's one thing I'm very confident about. If you look around downtown, the reason property values are going up downtown Springdale is because there's multifamily things that came in that led to services coming in and other things that have snowballed from there. And the single-family houses have appreciated, even though they are close to multifamily developments that you've approved downtown. And I think that's what you're going to see everywhere. The current market, people want to be closer to services and activities rather than out on 2 acres of land out in the country, which is almost gone anyway. So I'd be happy to answer your questions. We feel like this is a very modest, it's in keeping with the plan. It's low density. It is multifamily, but it's still low density. The design standards will take care of a lot of issues you may hear as far as screening and green space and a lot of those things. So if you have any questions or concerns about it, I'd be happy to do my best to answer them. But we think this is a good use, the best use of this property, which, like I say, is replacing a dilapidated single-family home.
Any questions?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've done this different ways. I've sometimes waited for a motion before we opened up discussion, and I just thought it best tonight to go ahead and get the discussion behind us, and then council can do as they please. So if there are no other questions for Mr. Lyle at this time, I'll open it up. Please feel free to come to the microphone if you'd like to speak to this issue. We ask that you keep your comments brief. I didn't really want to run a timer tonight, so we'll see how it goes. But if we get a lot of repetition or start going long, I'm gonna start limiting this to about 2 minutes apiece. So, but please state your name and your address and make your comments.
Well, good evening. My name is Dale Strauss, and I live at 4201 Clark Avenue. Right on the other side of that church, I just go through my back gate. I go over there and I vote every chance I get. I vote more than once, but they don't let me do that. But when I look at that property, I've been there for over 18 years, and I know that that church, I see this as a progression. I know that Mr. Taldo bought that property, also bought a little bit more from the church to expand that property. At least that's what he told us. And that allowed him to make this into, I believe, a 12-unit area. I've been there, and I watch that church every Sunday. I have to be honest, I only see maybe 10 to 12 cars ever there on a Sunday. I can't see the longevity of that church continuing. And so when I look at that property and I see what Mr. Taldo would like to do, I can't see it as being stagnant. I see it as continuing. I can't see how anybody here could deny him, if he were to purchase that whole church property, to want to develop it the same way. That piece of property right there could support, if you took the blueprint, 30 homes just like the neighboring community, 30. That section he has, if it was continued and wrapped around, it would be supporting 72 units. That would dramatically change this community. And I don't think this community really needs more multifamily units. I drive by our wonderful ballpark every day. They have wonderful units going in there, multi-units. I think it's Crossroads or Cross something. I can't think of what it is. And it is just exploding, and we're going to have some great businesses over there, and the new children's hospital goes that way. There is plenty of multifamily housing. What this town needs is affordable single-dwelling homes. They need that space, if it were to sell, to be filled up with single-dwelling homes, family homes, things that people are going to buy and own and be a part of the community. I know that everyone that goes into a multifamily, they're a part of our community. We're providing for them, but we have those resources and places in other parts of town, and it doesn't mean that they're going to have to expand roads. There are already great roads in place, but if you put 72 potential units in there, and you have to look forward, that property is not going to stay a church that isn't growing. 72 units in that space is going to dramatically change the neighborhood. And it's going to change the driving patterns. It's going to change how kids are getting to and from the elementary school and the middle school, which is on the other side of the street going the other direction. So I would encourage you to not allow this to happen. If Mr. Taldo could, I would encourage him to put in single-family affordable housing, that the dream of living and having a heritage to pass on to our families would continue, where you have a home, you raise a family there, not just for a year, not just for 18 months or 2 years, but you raise them throughout their entire school year, lifetime. And I would just encourage you to consider that.
Thank you. Patsy, while our next speaker is coming up, and it doesn't change your point at all, but just for my mind, that the rest of that property, the church owns back to that line, correct? And then Springdale Water is The rest of that? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Philip only bought a very small, a little bitty piece, not very much beyond what that.
Just to square it up? Yeah, okay. But that doesn't change your point. It might change that number that would be possible in the future a little bit. But I just wanted to be sure I was clear where that water property was. Where is it? It's the rectangle behind. Yeah, the rectangle on the west end of that A1, behind the church. Right, it'll access off of Clark. You can see the little access.
It accesses both sides,
Yeah,
next to the church and also off of Clark.
right, okay.
Supposedly, that's looking at potential water,
Yeah, it's not potential, it's gonna happen.
I mean, the water tower.
Yeah, it's a water tower. You can go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Well, you changed my point now. I'm Bruce Leahy. I live at 4205 Clark Avenue, and, you know, this is the fourth time we've been here to discuss this, and Mr. Taldo's done a lot of great things for Springdale, and I'm not discounting what he's done at all. I just have two questions. Who's in favor of the resolution that Mr. Taldo changes to M4 and puts 12 units on that space? Who's not in favor of Mr. Taldo, please stand up or raise your hand. I don't know, my dad's old-fashioned. Numbers speak volume, and, you know, we love Springdale, Arkansas. I raised my kids here. I'll never leave. A lot of these folks will never leave, but if we open 1 acre here, what's to say there's not going to be another acre close by, or another acre that some other developer wants to do the same thing on in a neighborhood that has homes that are bigger than ours and a gated community. And we're just opening up a can of worms, I think. And for simplistic purposes, single-family unit homes need to be in that space. But I thank you guys and gals for your concern about Springdale, and I am impressed with what they're doing downtown. They're doing a great job.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Mike Nelson, 4104 Chapman Avenue. Just wanted to come here one more time tonight. You know, we've talked about this 3 other times, been before y'all once. What our concerns are is the impact of, I know they're saying now tonight it's not spot zoning. Well, I feel like it is. That's just my opinion, okay? We've gone into an established neighborhood of single-family homes, and we're going to start dropping multifamily in. And I love, we're scaling that down when we talk about it, Mr. Lyle, good job, as low density, but it's low medium density. We can't drop the medium out. It is there. It could be a medium density to us and to our neighborhood. It could affect us that way, okay? We talk about affordable housing. $1,500–$1,600 for these little old townhomes that he's wanting to put in. That's not affordable to me, but I'm old school, okay? But here's my concern. They're saying it's for the teachers, the firemen, the policemen to have starter homes or somewhere to live, and I agree with that. We want to help them out. They do a wonderful job, wonderful job. We've got a great staff. I'm out with the police officers every day, okay? The firefighters and stuff, I operate a wrecker. So I get to go clean up these accident scenes, okay? I get to help with that. And we've got a great group. We've got a great group. But here's my concern. One day, about a week and a half ago, in a 12-hour shift, they worked 23 accidents. That's 2 an hour. And most of them was off on that southwest side. Okay, we are compacted with traffic already. Now, Patsy, tell me if I'm wrong, but we don't have any plans to widen that 40th and Chapman intersection at all. There's nothing in place to my knowledge there, and I don't know where we would go, to be honest with you, okay? You go there 4 times a day for 2 hours each time. and try to turn off at Chapman left where I live onto 40th. People get mad, and boy, they take that chance, okay? And that's why we have the accidents. It is hard. The road rage is there. It's real. That's reality, okay? And we're going to put more traffic there with multifamily units there. It's a big concern of mine, okay? We talk about help, we want to help the teachers, the policemen, the firemen. We bring those kids in those multifamily homes. They're going to hit the school. The school's already busting at the seams, from my understanding, talking with them. They're going to have to bus those kids to another school because Walker can't handle it. We've got the middle school down the road, Tyson. So growth, that's where we're at. It's hard for everybody. We've got to think about all of that stuff. But we're stressing those teachers out, adding more bus routes and everything else. Think about that for me, if you would, please. The police officers going to 23 calls in a 12-hour shift, accidents. That's stress on that officer. Any of them that have to roll. And when they roll, usually the fire department rolls. Okay? And it is stress on them. I'm out there, stress on me, to have to go out there and do that. I don't know what the answer is because the traffic's there. You or I, neither one's going to change that overnight. But just know that that is an impact. That's reality to our neighborhood. Okay? We came before the planning commission. They voted it down. He was going to put 14 units on before. We're hearing all these big numbers that it could have been. Well, it wasn't going to fit with all the setbacks. Now what I'm hearing is it's 12. He dropped 2 units.
We don't know that, Mike.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's just what I've heard. That's all I'm saying. So if we're dropping 2 units out, to me, that's still the impact of 12 units being built there is the same as it was at 14, when y'all said, no, that's not the best use for that property just a few weeks ago. So that's what I would like. My opinion is it's still not a good fit for the property. Please look at that, search it with your heart, know what you're doing to that area. Most of us, a lot of us have lived there 30 to 40 years. I've been out in that neighborhood for 36 years. So I just hate to see Springdale change the face of Springdale and start going into established single-family neighborhoods and dropping multifamily units in. And that's what I think we're really voting on tonight, is that could change. I talked with the mayor. There's a lot of other things in place, so I don't have all that in front of me. But I do know in my neighborhood there, I just do not feel that acre and a half, it's a good fit, okay? I would like to ask if any of y'all that voted last time that didn't think it fit when you vote tonight, for my benefit, would you tell me why you've changed your mind? Would you also, so these people that's here would know why you changed your mind? And then also the people watching on TV, tell us what has changed if 2 units, and that, again, Doug, I'm sorry, that is what I've heard, okay?
Because we're voting rezoning, and
Yes,
it's
but
really
still.
unfair for everybody to assume exactly what's
Yes.
going to go there
Yes.
or how many, because through the large-scale process, a lot of things have to be addressed.
But I do know, I think max for this zoning is up to 12. So maybe that's where that number came from, okay?
Maybe, but Mike, I'm going to need to get to the next, and I'm
Okay.
going to start timing us
Understand.
because this is,
But if y'all could just let us know, I would greatly appreciate it. It'll just help me understand, maybe what changed to help y'all change your mind. I appreciate all of your concerns, all of your thought going into it and your consideration.
thanks, Mike. I'm going to have to start a timer on you, sir. We'll have to move through this a little quicker. We'll go about 2 minutes.
I appreciate you, Mayor and Council.
You bet.
And Steve, Representative, Mr. Talville Incorporated. My name is Bill Pettigrew. I'm the pastor of Peaceful Valley Bible Church across the street, directly across the street. I just have one request in 2 minutes. Time me. I called up Mr. Taldo Incorporated, and I got through, and Barbara called me back, his assistant, and she gladly said, we will take care of mowing that property. And we were polite with one another, and they mowed the front half. It has never, ever been mowed since spring. and it was out of control. Kind of looked like the place that was there before, except in a different status. I don't care what decision you make right now. This one thing I want you to do. Would you please keep it mowed for my community? I love Springdale. I love being a part of Springdale. I've raised my family here. I've enjoyed watching what you all are doing for our community. It is great to see Springdale grow. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bill. And we'll pass that along to our code enforcement director's right there, and we'll make sure, whether it's got buildings on it or not, it has to be mowed. So, thank you. All right. Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Good afternoon, City Council, or good evening. My name is Deborah Reck, and I live at 4103 Chapman Avenue. And my main concern you might call it semantics, is about low density versus medium density. I've been looking up the comprehensive city plan and trying to understand what's going on and what's trying to be added in. And what I've learned is that the plan states the primary goal of the city of Springdale is to achieve orderly development in a rational and productive manner within the city. And when you look at the map where it shows the zoning, it says that it should be low density zoning in that neighborhood. And when I look at the Springdale city ordinances and the cheat code saying this is what's for zoning, everything that is 4 units or less per acre is labeled as low density. Anything that has more than that adds the medium density to it. And I feel like when we say that an MF4 is a low density housing, I feel like that's not true, because he has the ability to add twice as many units as a low density unit, as a low density dwelling in that area. And so I feel like my concern is, and I feel bad saying this, but I don't trust Mr. Taldo to have the best interest of the neighborhood at heart. When he came in here knowing what the city plan is, because I know that he's an intelligent man, he's a shrewd businessman, he knows what the city asks and what's available. And when he comes in asking for a medium density rezoning as the first shot, it's hard for me to trust that he's going to build low density housing in a low density area. Something that fits with the city plan of being in, where it's, the plan also states, multifamily housing should be developed at a density and scale that is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and available utilities and roadway capacity. So being in a low density area, 8 units per acre brings it up to medium density, in my opinion. And I feel like if we allow the zoning of MF4, which allows him to build up to that much, then he's going to take it. And he's going to build those 8 units, and it's going to make it medium density. And once you allow a little bit of medium density in there, it doesn't become spot zoning anymore. And I know you said it's not spot zoning because it's the low to medium density housing. But once you add the medium in there, I think it raises it up. Sorry.
I'll give you a few seconds to wrap it up, but
Okay.
we're about 2.5 minutes right now.
My apologies. I know,
That's
I was
okay.
trying to make it short, and I had a whole thing written out so I could do it, and then things changed. So, but that's my main concern, is that it's zoned for the city plan says low density. It could be low density, but I think that we should protect the neighborhood by making sure that if it's rezoned, it's for a low density only zoning. And MF4 is not only that. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Deborah. Someone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
thanks for having us. City Council, thanks for having us. And all the city people here, thank you very much. My name's Dennis Miller. I live at 4005 Clark. Lived there for 35 years, raised 3 beautiful daughters, went to school here. Springdale is a good place. Mary is tending to our grandkids on the West Coast, so you're going to have to hear from me, unfortunately for me and everybody else, because Mary's a great speaker, but I'm going to do the best I can. Mary sent out an email on April the 18th, and I'm sure everybody has read it, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I don't have the time. So I'm thinking you read it. So the master plan for this land use at 2022 South 40th is zoned for low-density, single-family residential. The developer previously attempted to rezone this to an MF14, which our city council soundly defeated 5-2. Thank you very much. Okay, 5-2, 6-3, something like that, I think it is. Now before us, the newest zoning to an MF4. Sounds like a huge change, but in fact, it just drops it down to 2, from 14 to 12. To accommodate this, looking from my backyard, we're going to have to put a new road and a new exit road, new parking for 30 vehicles, trash dumpsters, a new retention pond for water runoff, and 3 looming 3-story structures only a few feet from our backyards. All of the 12 rental units, why not leave the zoning as is, put in a low-density, single-family residential housing units compatible with the current neighborhood that surrounds Peaceful Valley? Why not? The proposed MF4 remains incompatible with our neighborhood. One thing that I can tell you is that Mary and I would never move into that house should there be the residential or the single or the multifamily housing. I'm sure the neighbors in and around the area would tell you the same. Please recall the written verbal information that you received over the months and months from our neighborhoods, from our friends, to come in decisions that protects us and the neighbors from this high-density multifamily use, protects the safety and security issues we have brought to your attention, protects us from property devaluation. If I have a retention pond in the backyard, I think my property value would go down, along with the road and some other things.
That's 2.5, Dennis. Go ahead and
Thank you.
wrap it up.
I'm going as fast as I can. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the extra time. I got 5 meetings on this property. We met with over 200 people and have attended these 5 meetings, and everybody, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3, have voted no for this development. And we talked about this is not spot zoning. No, I kind of think it is. You're kind of helping somebody do something. So we once again request to maintain the character and composition of the area of Peaceful Valley rather than change the zoning to allow large multifamily housing in this small space. And to back this up, 2 things on the land use goals. 1, land uses should be arranged to minimize situation in which the developments on certain properties detracts from the enjoyment and value of the surrounding and nearby properties. And number 2, mixing of incompatible uses on individual parcels in close proximities should be avoided. And then finally, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank the good people right here that have come to these 5 meetings. There's been over 200 people that have been here. So we care. We care. We're trying to do the right thing for Springdale, but we're trying to keep that single-family residential area intact. We like it there. We don't think of multi-family buildings with 3 stories, whatever.
Okay.
Needs to be there. There's other places for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
For our next speaker, come on up. Be ready to come up. And we're going to go 2 minutes, and I'm going to stop you in the middle of a sentence if I have to. So, okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We got to move this along a little bit.
My name is Joyce Pettigrew. I live at 2207 South 40th Street, so across the street from the property. And I haven't heard this concern, and I don't know, this is my first time to be able to come to meetings, so this may have been addressed before. But my biggest concern is security on the property. If you have a multi units, do you have a residential, are you required to have a residential manager on property that is overseeing property and what's going on in that property?
Patsy, I
other-
don't think so. No.
Well, that to me is a big concern, because if you have 4 to 12 units, there can be a lot of things going on.
Well, like 4 to 12 houses can too.
Pardon me?
4 to 12 houses can too.
Yes, they can. But most multifamily apartment complexes have residential managers on staff, and for various reasons. Security, to take care of, maintenance and that kind of thing. So my concern is what happens to that property that doesn't have anybody there watching the property, and the security of overflowing into the residential area, people. And as somebody mentioned, our police department is really overworked. And I'm just concerned about that many people in that small of space and not having any oversight. So that's it.
Thank you, Joyce.
Holly Hayes, 4106 Chapman Avenue. So I'm kind of a simple person, and so I have some simple things that I'd like you to think about. Somebody said something about two-story houses versus townhomes. Okay, great. Yes, you still have the height, but you know what we don't have in our neighborhood? Streetlights, because it's quiet and dark and peaceful. What will we have if you get a multifamily property come in? Streetlights. What we'll also have is smelly dumpsters. You drive by any apartment building in any city, and you're gonna see dumpsters that are overflowing. Every apartment complex I've ever seen, dumpsters. We don't have that. We don't have that smell. Something else I've thought of, what happens when Mr. Taldo sells? Maybe he takes great care of his townhomes. I've heard he does, but what if he sells it in 5 or 10 years? Because, he's probably not gonna be alive in 40 years. Our houses have been there over 40 years, and they look nice because people own them and care for them and love them. People don't typically do that in a townhome. It's not theirs. Who cares? They move in, they leave, they move out. Stray animals. Anytime you have some kind of transient unit, you usually have animals that get left behind. I know, I have 2 dogs right now that were strays. I've taken in many other animals. So those are some concerns that I have on top of the traffic. The traffic is a huge, huge concern there. Children walking and playing is a huge concern. And just the fact that it will disrupt our peaceful valley subdivision, which is what we've all wanted. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Okay, anyone else?
I've just got a couple. Has everyone gotten all the documentation, and did everyone see the slideshows that every guy sent out? Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to correct a couple of things real quick.
Name, please.
I'm sorry, Les Nelson, 4004 Chapman.
Thank you, Les.
As far as like the number of units on the property, there was some communication there where it sounded like that MF4 and SF Single Family 2 were the same. No, they're not. There's 4 and 8. It's double. There's the word, it's double. And another thing that they said was that 72% of the area in Springdale is set up for single-family homes, and that's bad. It is bad because 80% of the people want a single-family home. We're short. And single-family homes are the only way that you ever can retire. If you live in an apartment, that rent's gonna go up, you're never gonna get there. And so we're not really helping people by doing that. When we started this, we believed that the Springdale City Council would listen to us and with the best interest of the city of Springdale. The first planning commission, all the members looked at me directly, looked me in the eye, even the ones that voted against us. They looked at us, they made several comments on why they voted the way they were. Again, and then we repealed, we went to you guys, again, the same situation. Everybody looked me in the eye, they talked to me directly, and they told me that, what they were interested in, and again, we had a 5-3 vote. Mrs. Taldo, kudos to her because she abstained from the vote, which is, again, I thought her for that. you know, we've been kind of dragged through the mud on this. It's almost like we've been playing a game. How many times can they drag us up there until we get tired of it? But we're not tired of it. We're here. In the last planning commission, I received some, what I call Dear John emails that even before we even started sending stuff that kind of said, I'm so sorry, you know. So it seemed like in February, the decision was already made, although we got drug up here in March and it got canceled and it didn't happen until April.
That's 2 minutes, Les. Wrap it up. I'll let you wrap it up.
All right, well, I just want to say that, you know, the people of this area have the rights for what they bought. They bought a house in a low-density neighborhood. Mr. Taldo bought a house with one thing. That are their rights. And it is never okay to violate a person's rights or use a crisis or perceived crisis to justify it. I really believe that, you know, there are plenty of apartments out there,
Yeah.
and again, we're fanning the fires to do this. So I'm going to just conclude right here and say that I ask you to continue the thread you displayed at the council meeting in January and deny this request. It is spot zoning. It is not good for the city of Springdale. This apartment would work so much better someplace else.
Thank you, Les. All right, council, it's to you. Just to remind everyone, this comes as a recommendation, just as it did before, different recommendation, but this comes as a recommendation for from the Planning Commission. So we need to vote this up or down. It's not like an appeal, where a lack of a motion makes a decision.
The ordinance be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Council, do you have any more questions or comments? All right, then you may register your vote. And I'm going to ask Amelia, and Mr. Overton will put it in. Amelia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. 4-4. All right, I vote to approve.
Carries 5-4.
All right, thank you. Ernest, do you want to address that? Let's let our city attorney answer that.
The members of the council have the responsibility of making their decision whether they have a conflict or not. And I can't speak for Ms. Taldo, but you know, if she has a pecuniary or any sort of monetary interest in this property, then she would likely have a conflict. But by her voting, I'm assuming that that is not the case. But that's a decision that's made by the individual council members.
We're not getting into that kind of discussion. It does have an emergency clause. Are we going to vote?
Yes,
on
and the ordinance does have an emergency clause.
All right.
If there's no motion, the emergency clause won't carry. It will go in effect in 30 days.
Okay. All right.
An ordinance, anytime an ordinance is passed, it goes into effect after 30 days. If it has an emergency clause and the emergency clause passes, it goes into effect immediately. This ordinance did have an emergency clause, and that requires a separate vote for the emergency clause. Since there was not a motion made for the emergency clause, the ordinance passes, but does not go into effect immediately and will go into effect after 30 days.
Let me, I need to say something else too, because it's very rare that a mayor gets an opportunity to vote. I don't think it'll be a secret to any of you that I thought this was the right thing to do for a long time. And I know we disagree on that. I'll disagree with that from many of the people. But I believe this was the right vote to make, and that's why if I given the opportunity, I would vote. But I do also have to say that, and Councilwoman Taldo was on the Zoom call, we had no discussion about how she planned to vote or whether she planned to vote. And I need to make that clear, that there was nothing going on behind the scenes. I didn't know whether or how she was going to vote until she voted, but it didn't change what I was going to do. So I needed to make that clear. Okay, Patsy?
Can we go back to the slides? The next item is a request to rezone 3.46 acres located at 1995 North Monitor Road. The request is to rezone the property from A1 to SF1. Planning Commission reviewed the request and recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being zoning ordinance of the City of Springdale, Arkansas, the plat pertaining thereto, by rezoning certain lands from Agricultural District A1 to Low-Density Single-Family Residential District SF1 and declaring an emergency. It's actually 3.51 acres, sorry. I missed that 0.5. It's actually on the other side of the street, so.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Patsy, I had a question. When they brought this to planning, was there not a plan to do a split on this? And then we said that it couldn't be or something before?
We did discuss with them the fact that it can't be split, and they know that. They wanted to proceed with the rezoning. The way they,
So it'd be just one single dwelling?
one single tract.
Okay.
Right.
Second.
Okay. Did we get a motion and a second? I heard the second, but I didn't hear the motion.
No, Randall made
Got
the
it?
motion.
Okay, thank you. We do have a motion and a second. All right. Any other comments or questions by the council or the audience? All right, council, you can register your vote. Amelia, how would you vote on this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Mike has entered that. Okay, let's see the results.
Carries 8-0, has an emergency clause.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Okay. Council, you can vote. Amelia, how do you vote on the emergency clause?
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Emergency clause carries 8-0.
The next item is a request to rezone .77 acres located at 3598 South 48th Street. The request is to rezone the property from C2 to C5. The rezoning to the C5 allows for a facility that has a drive-through, which is not allowed in the C2. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the City of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from General Commercial District C2 to Thoroughfare Commercial District C5 and declaring an emergency.
They most likely won't have access to Don Tyson.
No, they'll have no access to Don Tyson. And it'll be a shared access that exists, as you see on that drawing there. It'll be a shared access for both of them.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Anyone in the audience? All right, council, you may vote. Amelia, how do you vote on this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Carries 8-0, has an emergency clause.
Emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for the emergency clause. You may vote. Amelia?
No, you can't vote yet.
Yes.
Thank you.
We need another voting. There you go.
There we go.
There we go. Mark?
Well, you're on the wrong screen. Now it's right.
Emergency clause carries 8-0.
Thank you.
The last item is a request for waiver of sidewalks in conjunction with a non-large-scale. Planning Commission recommends denial of the waiver. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance approving a waiver of street improvements, drainage, curbs, gutter, and sidewalks as set forth in ordinance number 3725 to 1600 South Old Missouri Road in connection with a non-large-scale development.
There we go.
There we go. And we do have some pictures of the location that was provided by the applicant. This is the area from, along that area. And I don't know if is Dennis here? I didn't see him.
Dennis is here. Dennis?
There he is.
Patsy, have you read it and everything you did, didn't you?
Yes, I read
Patsy, let me ask you a question. I went out there and looked at this. Some of them's got sidewalks and some of them don't. Is there variances been given to some of those people out there?
Well, I can't answer all of them specifically. The ones that have been in the last few years they have not been granted waivers of the sidewalks.
But some people have.
Some people have. Some of those were built many, many years ago when there wasn't a sidewalk requirement.
And the city owns from Emma on down, right? We don't have any sidewalks at all there, do we?
That's correct. The new hangars that are being put in there are required to have sidewalks, but those will be done when all the hangars are done.
And if you go south of this property, I think I talked to Mr. Powell here, state owns that, you know, and it's going to be hundreds and thousands of dollars. If you're going to put a sidewalk in there and all that drainage problem, there's no way you're going to have sidewalks from close to this property all the way down to 412. You're just not. So we don't have sidewalks from Emma on our property. We have a hodgepodge. Different people were given variances and other ones wasn't. And then we don't have any control south to 412. Am I correct there?
Well, there's airport property where the fence could be moved back and the sidewalk could be put there on city property.
But then you're talking about a lot of drainage. That is.
Yeah.
I mean,
And we're looking at, I think the planning commission is taking a better stand on not waiving sidewalks. And you guys need to make that decision, whether it's one you should waive or one that you shouldn't.
On our new hangar that we put in, did we put a sidewalk in?
There will be a sidewalk requirement when there's 4 hangars to be built there. By the time we get finished, we'll have a sidewalk there. Mr. George has a remodel with his, there'll be a sidewalk on his piece. There's 2 or 3 other places where there's sidewalks in there going in as projects move forward. It's really no different than other areas where we put in sidewalks as we go.
Is that granting a waiver, right?
Option one.
Second.
Okay, we have a,
Patsy,
yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
did I hear you say that the planning commission is basically taking the position on sidewalks that they always should be required and leaving it up to us to
Or
grant the
payment in
waivers?
lieu of, if the developer's not willing to do payment in lieu of, it's going to come to you guys to decide.
Oh, even if they maybe think it's appropriate for a waiver,
Well,
they don't want to.
I can tell you there are some places out in the outskirts that they recommend that
Yeah,
they go ahead and waive.
And this was a 5-4 vote, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so there were 4 of them that. We have a motion to second. Are there any other comments or questions? All right. Ready to vote, council? This is, Amelia, this is approving a waiver with option 1, which is no sidewalks, a full waiver. Okay. Amelia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay? You got.
Guess what, Mayor?
Wow. Well, I'm really torn on this one because others are putting them in, but I really think unless we're ready to do the rest of them as a city project, we need to, or unless the highway department steps up, and we know that that's going to be widened at some point, but we don't know when. So I'm going to vote yes on the waiver.
Carries 5-4 with option 1.
I'm already in hot water. I'll just boil a little longer. Go a year without getting to vote and get to vote twice in one night. All right. Thanks, everybody. And we're at item 11. No. Yes, we are at item 11. And this is an appeal. I'm going to turn this over to Ernest.
Thank you. This is, there was a conditional use request made for a use unit 42 in a, what's the, C, is it a C2? For a church synagogue. Church synagogue is a conditional use that's use unit 42 in a C2. This is property located at 2250 West Sunset Avenue. You might be familiar with this property. I think this was, years ago, was the old revenue office. After that, it was a church for a period of time, and was there a resale shop in there at one time?
Tax.
At any rate, the applicants who are here requested a conditional use permit for use unit 42 at this location. It was denied at the planning commission meeting, and it's been appealed to the city council.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I just want to say thank you for accepting our petition for the appeal on this decision on the Planning Commission on April 2nd in regards to the request for the permit for our church, Palabra Viva. This is, as you mentioned, on 2250 West Sunset Avenue in Springdale. And we would like the City Council to reconsider this decision because we feel it was based on a perception of the previous church that was on that location. And if you allow me, I would like to present a few points that it kind of puts us on a really tight position because on number one, we are tied up with a one-year contract with Social Properties on that location. And in fact, we were paying rent from that location since December. And in a way, it was our fault because we didn't kind of dig in and get all the facts, all the information, what we needed to get this permit. So we thought that, it was just a matter of filling up an application, get the permits, and go on. But we know now that that's not the case. Also, I would like to state that there is already an investment on that building. The previous tenant kind of destroyed the building before they left. They tore out the floors, walls were pretty bad and everything. So we had to make an investment in order to get it up to codes. And it was a pretty considerable investment already on this building. And as I mentioned, this building has brought out to safety and city codes, which has been already checked and approved by the fire department as far as the safety and the city inspector. Also, we would like to state that, based on Jason property listing, all of our neighbors were notified about the purpose of this building, and we haven't heard nobody opposing with the project. Also, we understand that this is a conditional permit, and we know that it can be pulled from us. So it puts us on a spot that we don't want to jeopardize the permit. And also, there was with the Planning Commission meeting, there was even one of the members that mentioned about putting us on a trial period, which we agreed to it if it's necessary. Also, we understand that there was issues with the previous church that was on that location. We have made arrangements so we don't run into those problems. Like, for example, our service hours are set after the regular business hours of all the locations that are around the building right there. And also, parking arrangements. We have made arrangements with a Samaritan store that is right across from us, so we can use some of the parkings as overflows if needed. I know the projections of all of the church are to grow, but we also know that this doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time for that to happen, and if there's any given point that we are overflowing the capacity of the building, it's time to move. But like I said, this is something that we all know that doesn't happen overnight. And as a closing statement, I would like to as the city council to consider us as individual and not use the perception of, or have the general perceptions that all groups or churches will act the same way. And that's all we got. We'd like to present this presentation. Thank you.
Patsy, why was it denied? Additional use?
Can we have the pictures back up, please? First of all, this building wasn't built for assembly use. And it has very limited parking to start with. The occupancy limit that was set by the fire department took set occupancy limit at 158 spaces. They need 40 spaces would be required. There's only 4 parking spaces in front of the suite itself. So all the parking that they have available is on the overflow to the south and is on the Compassion Center next door. We've had complaints about noise because there, as you can see, there's apartments that are really close to this location. That has been a problem in the past with this location of noise complaints. It's just not a building that was designed for a church to be in that location. We've had a couple of other locations in town where we've tried to go into these kind of facilities, and those haven't worked out well either because of the parking situations, because of the noise situations. So this is a hard one, and I'm not sure, and I feel really bad that they signed a lease before we had a chance to look at it. We're coming in after the fact instead of before the fact, and that really is hard to deal with. But I don't know why the property owner would have allowed them to get that far along without having looked to see whether they could get a conditional use for a church at this location. It's just not a building that was designed for a church to be at this location.
Has this property owner had this property for a long time?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I'm not even sure that he was a property owner that owned it when we had previous problems with it.
Okay.
From other locations, from another church.
But that has been a church before.
Yes. And we had complaints about the noise quite a bit. We had complaints about the parking. We had complaints from the neighborhood to the north. We had complaints from the properties, the apartments that were next door. It just wasn't a good situation all the way around. But the building itself is not designed for that kind of a use to start with.
What was the vote at Planning Commission, you know?
You have a copy of the minutes, and I
It was
didn't.
9 to
Yeah,
nothing.
I think it was unanimous to deny the conditional use.
So if I'm understanding correctly, the 4 spots and on one of the drawings shows 5, that's the only places they can park? Or what I'm understanding from him is after business hours, he had an agreement.
He has
with
an
the-
agreement, but there are conditions that set with those as hours of operation and that kind of stuff. But the facility itself doesn't have that many parking spaces of their own. Normally, we don't allow 40% be off-site, and most of these are going to be off-site.
Okay, so you said the hours was going to be after normal business hours. What days and times are your services and events going to be on?
It's going to be on, ¿cuáles son las del viernes? Yeah, it's going to be on Fridays from, starting at 7 p.m. And then on Sundays at 1:30 p.m., which on Sundays, all of those businesses are closed.
Okay, the Friday one would be finished by when?
About 9:30 tops.
What is the size of your congregation now, average attendance?
Right now, it's only a few of us. It's probably about like three or four families. It's between 25, 30 members at this point. That's including kids.
You guys loud?
Not really. Not really. And if I may say this, I know Patsy mentioned the parking situation. That's something, like I said, we accommodated and we have enough parking to accommodate the max capacity occupancy of the building, which, like I said, it's going to take quite a bit for that to reach that amount of people in that building.
Your petition says 6 to 9 on Friday.
Del viernes eran de las, pusimos de las 6. It might be 6 on the paper.
So it is 6.
I don't have those copies in front of me at this point, yeah. But all of the businesses, I believe, that everybody closes at 5.
Sir, you're holding services now at a different location, or you have in the past, is that correct?
Yes, sir, we have.
And do you, in your church services, does it include music?
At this point, it's only, she's the pastor.
Has it included music?
Yes, it does. I mean, but it's just like
So part of the problem, and I appreciate what you're saying, is it's hard to lump all churches together, and, we had a problem there before with the church.
Yes.
Part of the problem wasn't so much the parking, but the noise. And I think that's what a lot of the planning commissioners may have been concerned about, was the noise in that neighborhood. In fact, when we had that church there before, that was my neighborhood. And we did have a problem. And we're being told by our planning director that this building doesn't really even suit a church.
Okay. The music that we have at this point is just a guitar. That's all we got right there as music. There is no drums. There is nothing else like that. And by the structure or by the setting, the way that the building is set up right now, the closest apartments that are right there, there is about 4 walls in between where the sanctuary is at. There is an aisle in between, an alley in between, and then it's the apartments. So it's quite a bit of a distance and walls in between the sanctuary and where the apartments are at.
How many square feet that you're asking to rent?
¿Cuánto es el square footage? No, los pies cuadrados del edificio. No, son. I think it's 2,800 square footage, yeah. I believe that's what it is. Like I mentioned before, if it's something that requires for us to go on a trial period, we more than gladly take that trial. I mean,
Fire department said it was 2,400.
because I don't have those papers in front of me, so that's why I'm just going on the fourth figure. Departamento 2,400.
Chief, what's the capacity of 2,400?
It says 195 people in there.
Yeah, it depends on the arrangement, whether they have fixed seating like pews or chairs. I wasn't in there personally, so.
I think
They calculated it to be an occupancy limit of 158 people. And we based the number of parking spaces based on that 158. One parking space for every 4 occupants. That's how we did that number.
So if this is overturned, it is a trial period pretty much the whole time, because it can be taken any time, the conditional use can. If the complaints start rolling in and we start getting a lot of complaints, it can be revoked. So just to let you know that.
Yes, we are aware of that. And like I said before, and that's the reason that we won't jeopardize losing the permit.
Right, and I don't know what the terms of your lease are, but you could be in the same situation if this was approved as a conditional use. I mean, if you broke those conditions, you could lose it at any time anyway. So you could still be in the same predicament with your lease, depending on how you get out of it.
Yeah, we are aware of that, sir. And like I say, it's at this point, you know, it's a big loss for us, man. It has been a big investment as far as getting the building up to standards and the rent that we've been paying since December at this point, it has kind of added up on us. You know, that's why we kind of would appreciate you guys, you know, just.
I'll make a motion to overturn the planning commission.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to overturn the planning commission's denial of this conditional use.
With the understanding we can revoke it at any time.
Right.
Appreciate you, guys. Thank you.
I would suggest, well, I don't know how the vote's going to go, but if the planning commission is overturned, I would highly recommend, if it's overturned, that we bring a resolution back at the next meeting with the specific conditions listed for the conditional use, if the planning commission is overturned.
Okay,
That way, there's no question what the conditions are.
okay. All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Does anyone else in the room need to speak to this? Everyone understand the vote? You're voting to allow the conditional use, in essence, okay? All right. Go ahead and vote. Amelia, what's your vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. And the results? I swear. I really got some misgivings about this. I really do, but I don't want to hold you responsible for what's happened before. But please know, we won't hesitate if we have some issues that you don't address to remove this. So I'm going to vote yes.
So the planning commission's decision is overturned, so will you work with him for the next council meeting, bring a resolution with the conditions in it?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I think we're ready for comments from department heads. None? How about council? All right. City attorney?
I don't think I have anything that could top what's already happened.
No, I'm going to be quiet the rest of the night too. We have a motion to adjourn? Yes, sir, we do. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.